I'm Nikki Young, and I was one of the facilitators on the various programmes that we've had, which is a real privilege to really work with people that are really keen to aspire to be something different, to be better leaders across systems and across organisations. So it's really good to be with you today. So we've got some questions, so it's really trying to understand what your experience has been, both good, bad, ugly, if there are any uglies, hopefully not, but just to share with us your reflections on the programmes that you've been on. Okay, so I'll open up with an open question. Anyone can answer this first, okay? So I'm really curious to know what your experience was of the programme. So I don't know who wants to kick off.
Well, shall I start? Because I was on the very first one. So we didn't really know what we were letting ourselves in for, I think, and because it was emergent and you were trying things out with us, I think. One of the best experiences I think it brought was that opportunity to meet with folk in different roles, in different organisations across the patch. And as much as we learned from the facilitators, we learned a lot from each other actually during the programme. It was a really great opportunity to share and debate and discuss with people who you wouldn't necessarily get that opportunity to talk to in your day-to-day role.
Yeah. Great, thanks Vicky.
I think I'd chime with that as well, and I think maybe we had the benefit of you guys going first and the programme matured as, you know, by the time we got it, because Sasha and I were on the same programme. And I'd say absolutely being able to hear the different variety of views, and part of our programme was linked to the fellowship programme that we devised in West Yorkshire. So we know that we're aiming to have a diverse leadership group that influences decision making. So the Inspiring Leaders programme and the Shadow programme was part of that development. Definitely about the link with other people across the system, and have an opportunity to just help challenge. You know, it's fine to not agree on things, but be able to hear that. So that's what I'd say I benefited from.
Great, thanks. Anything from you, Sasha?
For me, it was definitely building that peer mentorship and peer network, and learning from each other, because I think definitely in your workspace you can often be almost in a hierarchical position where you've got people that you're leading and working with, and people who you're taking direction from. But actually to be able to test out where you are, test out kind of your thinking, your challenges, the experiences and some of the hurdles that you're up against, being able to test that out with a group of people who are not involved in that and have that almost critical voice, but objective critical voice was really beneficial for me. I felt I was challenged, I was really open to having that challenge, and it helped me step out, step above and step kind of into a different space which I hadn't recognised myself that I wanted to be in. And being able to explore that with in a safe space and with peers, so that you can still continue to improve and think about, actually this is what I could have done better. Or this is actually where I think for a lot of us, I felt it validated where we were with how we developed in our leadership, and sometimes you don't always hear that feedback about the validation of actually the skills that you've learned, the experiences that you've built, and that validation was really important, and actually then putting it into action where it's valued was really, I think that really helped me step up and step out.
Fabulous experiences then. And one of the things we like to create is that safe space on the programme where you can say, oh, time out, I don't know what I'm doing, but you're in that safe space to learn and to really develop in your role. So in terms of, from your perspective, Rob, as a commissioner of the programme in various hats that you've worn in the past, what's your experience been of the programme from your perspective?
Well, it's been really positive, and as you say, Nikki, started out as something we did in the trust I was leading, as well as in the system. As we've heard, you know, people coming together, supporting each other as peers. That's definitely been one of the most important things for me in my development. And also I'm a very practical learner. I like to do things to learn. And I think the Shadow Board gives you an opportunity to do practical things. So what I saw in the trust and what I've seen in the system is it really gives people the confidence to develop and to recognise their own skills and strengths actually, and build upon them, which is just fantastic. too many times we have conversations about, oh, there's no people coming through, or we haven't got a diverse enough leadership. And as soon as you get people in a room together, give them a bit of support, what you see is that they exist and they're actually brilliant.
Great, some really good experiences there. So what I'm interested or curious about now is what the experience, what have you noticed about yourself? So you talked a little bit about that in your experiences, but what have you noticed about yourself today that you've perhaps learned through Shadow Board? Good, bad or ugly?
One of the papers I presented to the Shadow Board was a finance paper, and when it was first kind of shared, would somebody like to lead on this? That would have been the last paper I'd want to present. But I thought actually I'll, again, in that space of challenge myself, and I felt like I learned so much from it. Not so much about the paper, but like I said, about confidence, about wider knowledge and being able to be an objective voice.
Yeah.
And so that's an experience that's really stuck with me, that not to be scared to step into something that feels unknown, because so much of our skills are transferable.
Absolutely. Really good.
I think my learning, because I was in the cohort and I heard Sasha present the finance paper, and it was really interesting because it was the first time a paper was presented, especially something like finance, but actually was so simple to hear, actually the way that, and that's the way that, we do approach work in West Yorkshire. But two areas of learning for me was, one, the connectivity between something like financing, how does that impact the work that I lead and others? And the other area that I think it really helped grow my learning was around having an opinion on an area that you're not a subject matter in. So since then, I use that skill now in other boards that I now go to, and hopefully you'll continue to develop that. But I think that skill has definitely come from having that experience at Shadow Board.
Yeah, I would totally resonate with that. So stepping out of your comfort zone and talking on a subject that isn't your day-to-day job was one of the things that I really got out of it.
I mean, as a chief exec, I always look at the directors and think any one of you should be able to talk about any topic for 5 minutes, any of the other directors' portfolios for 5 minutes, what's going on in the money or the quality. So the fact that that's being exposed and supported on the Shadow Board is really, really important.
It really hones the importance of working together. So although you might have your subject matter expertise, that still sits in the system, and actually building those relationships. So now knowing how important it is to have that confidence to speak with my finance colleagues or my quality colleagues or performance, and actually really have that shared conversation, so, because we lift each other up then by understanding each other's area and supporting each other so that we're achieving what we want for our population. So absolutely the importance of relationships and connectivities.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point, actually, because the converse of it is to have the humility to listen to and value other people's input into your own part of the world, because we can be quite protectionist about, I'm the subject matter expert in this environment and what are you doing having an opinion on it? So the Shadow Board programme also sort of supported and developed the converse of that, giving us the ability to be more open, to listen to views and thoughts about our own part of the world.
And I think the key to that is then we learn those skills in these shadow programs, but then taking that into what we do in our day-to-day. And I think that's the key, isn't it? Being able to lift that learning. So having that diversity of thought in the room, welcoming challenge, working to a shared ambition, and being able to have that discussion. So actually we're not protective of our own area, because you're working all to the overall purpose, which is to meet your local community needs and patient needs.
So we've hardwired the Shadow Board into the main decision making. So the Shadow Board takes all of the board papers the day before. It's chaired by one of the executives. They then come to the board meeting, and when we're discussing each of the papers, we get the view of the Shadow Board and their decision that they would have taken on that matter. And that gives us the diversity of thought that Simon referenced earlier. So it's a different group of people with different perspectives looking at the same issue. I also think it's important to recognise, and I think this is what I'm hearing from colleagues, is that one of the big jumps you have to make as a leader is to recognise that you're already working in a system. The best people to ask about that are patients or carers or families, and they'll tell you what it feels like to be on the end of a system that doesn't quite work for them. And once you become conscious of that, you can't unsee it. So I think it means that you have to build the relationships and you have to recognise that you need to work together across the NHS and local government and charities if we're really going to meet people's needs today.
You're all at assistant level or deputy or director level, aren't you? So I'm curious to know what your journey's been and whether Shadow Board has played a part in that. So what's Sasha?
Yeah, so I wasn't a deputy director when I started on the programme. I was a head of mental wellbeing. I think my confidence built throughout that, and like I said, I had a peer network to really draw on to support me through that process. To sound actually, definitely there were points where I thought, do I want to apply for this? Is this what I want to do? And actually having that peer network for me was really really vital. That vision, that inspiration that you're part of developing helps motivates you to carry on, and both from a leadership point of view, but also really connecting to how we're making a difference. What does it mean to make a difference? Who are the people that we're making a difference for?
And interestingly, it gave me the confidence to say out loud, yeah, I do want to be a director. I do want to be in a position where I can influence those around me so that ultimately we make better decisions on behalf of those we serve, because we need that diversity. And so I'm now Associate Director for Children, Young People and Families. To think I started out as a paediatric nurse all those years ago, where I was on the front line serving young people, patients, families, and now I'm in a position where I'm influencing that strategic level influence on what are we doing about helping our children and families. It's a huge, huge area of responsibility now to think from where I was. So, and I'd say Shadow Board is one of the pivotal sort of catalysts that have helped me do that. And if I can bring as many people along with me, that's obviously, really important.
Fabulous.